You're listening to Cinematic Adventures, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Badges? We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
You make me want to be a better man.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
He's looking at you, kid.
I've always depended on the kindness of strangers.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Would you be shocked if I put on something more comfortable?
You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to... What's the name of this podcast?
Wow. This is how we're starting. The Misfit Faction... No, not that one. MF Uncensored. No,
it's something with a C.
Cry Me a River? That was the last thing you said to me before we started.
That's true.
What a terrible opening bit. Cinematic Adventures!
Oh, hey! It's been a while. I can't remember what the name of the podcast was. I'm sorry.
It's been a while. We did an episode 4 weeks ago.
Thank you, everyone. You've just proved my point. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Cinematic Adventures, whatever it's called. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Sean, and with me is Paul. Paul, how are you today?
I was doing all right till you...
I don't know. You seem a little testy.
You threw a bit at me. I wasn't ready.
That's the whole point of bits.
No, I think we should plan the bits.
Yeah, Mr. Who would win in a fight?
Oh, I love those. Those are fun. That's not
Throws
a bit.
That at me,
That's a recurring concept.
It's recurring, knock on my brain.
Who'd win in a fight? Gary Oldman or William Hurt?
Not cool. William Hurt's no longer with us.
I know, but in their primes. I feel like
William Hurt.
I feel like William Hurt can throw some hands.
But Gary Oldman is sneaky good, so I don't know.
Especially if he starts yelling at you.
That's true.
Oh, he's a good yeller.
He is a very good yeller. So I didn't say it before, but if you're hearing us for the first time, you can catch us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and pretty much anywhere else. So, Paul.
Sean.
What did we want to talk about today?
Batman.
We did that already.
Spider-Man.
Nah, I'm good.
Batman and Spider-Man. Who do win in a fight, Batman or Spider-Man?
Which Spider-Man?
Let's go Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
I think he would cry too much.
That's fair. He just has to say MJ's going to break up with him.
That's true.
She was the worst. She was terrible. Let's say somebody pointed out recently.
She wasn't that bad.
Somebody pointed out recently, though, that she was dating Harry, but openly flirting with Peter.
That's true.
And then hit on Peter at her ex-boyfriend's dad's funeral. Yeah, I was like, oh, I forgot about that.
She was dating Harry for the money. We all know that.
Oh, no, come on.
Because who would date James Franco?
I'm not touching that one.
Well, so...
Oh, Lost in Space. That's what we're talking about.
I know, that's what we were talking about. So, since the last time we recorded an episode, we had another passing in the film industry, and that was William Hurt, the great actor, passed away at the age of 71 last week. Was it last week?
Yeah, very recently, at the time of recording.
At the age of 71. So, of course, the inevitable text came up, hey, what do you want to record? And I was like, you know what? In honor of William Hurt, let's talk about the one movie he probably forgot he was even in, and that's Lost in Space. You would think, not Big Chill, Body Heat, History of Violence. No, we're going to go Lost in Space, folks. If you haven't figured out by now, it's Sean and Paul. We're not that sophisticated. We're going to talk about the 1998 big flop, Lost in Space.
Was it a flop, though?
It was a flop.
It made $136 million on an $80 million budget.
But apparently it wasn't good enough because they were planning a trilogy for this movie.
Yeah.
They were planning future sequels and all that stuff. But, yeah.
It's rough.
But, you know what? It's rough, but not in a can't watch way. I can watch this movie. I have no problem watching this movie.
Oh, no, not at all. I can watch this movie.
So, I'm looking forward to this. I am. So
Before we do that,
news. I've got some news, not much news, but
no news is good news.
As of today, which is a Saturday, we are recording. Tomorrow night is the Academy Awards. We did touch upon that a couple episodes ago when we, brought up the nominations, and we did a whole episode on the history of the Academy Awards and stuff. So we'll go over the winners, obviously, in our next episode. I'm hoping for Andrew Garfield winning for Tick Tick Boom, but I think it's Will Smith's year, so don't think we're going to be.
I'm really hoping that Andrew Garfield finally walks away with it. Like he's one of those other actors like a Robert Pattinson or something like that, like who've gotten so much better after doing their first big like blockbuster-ish roles. You know, you got Pattinson for Twilight, Andrew Garfield for Spider-Man, and Maze the Podcat on the podcasting table as we're recording.
But he also, Pat Garfield started off with Social Network. That was like the first thing I
think
that
was
saw
his big one, right? I think that was right before The Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, I think he was I think because everybody knew him of Social Network when he was cast in Spider-Man.
Yeah. But
he's also a big Broadway actor. He does a lot of plays and stuff. He's already won a Tony Award for Angels in America. So, listen, if he doesn't win, I'm going to be upset. But I think Andrew Garfield's here to stay in terms of acting ability. I think we'll be seeing him, a few more times nominated for...
we definitely won't see Ansel Elgort nominated for anything.
I don't think he was nominated at all anyway. But...
Or invited.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, he's got all this controversy nowadays.
That's true.
Yeah, but I say if Tick Tick Boom wins, we should do an episode on it.
We should do an episode on it even if it doesn't win.
So I guess we're doing an episode on Tick Tick Boom.
But we don't have to, but I'm just saying. It's a great movie. Have you seen it yet?
Not yet.
God, you got to get on that, man.
We have enough trouble sitting down, just you and I talking
about...
You've
seen Spider-Man 3 times.
Okay, so about that, shut up. That's my rationale, sir. I've also watched Zack Snyder's Justice League like 4 times.
I couldn't waste my time with that. It's just not possible.
I'm
sorry.
You shut your mouth.
All right, let's get back to the topic. So we decided that we're going to talk about Lost in Space, the 1998 movie that to certain people is a box office bomb. To, as I agree with you and sorry, your cat is hysterical.
Cat's so weird.
He's never done this before.
He needs attention.
Well, sorry, I don't have any attention to give.
You were literally just petting him. You
really.
Monster. But anyway, so for this movie, I love this movie. It's cheesy, it's corny, it's not that good, but it is just a guilty pleasure movie. And William Hurt is fantastic in it. And I watched the show as a kid, so I was very familiar with it.
I really didn't watch the show much as a kid. I never really got into it.
I love I think it was Robot Chicken or his Family Guy that does like the joke about like, all right, Will, you're going to go off to the most dangerous area of the planet with this total stranger and a robot. And Major West and Judy, you guys are just going to go be alone in the spaceship for a few hours. Nothing bad could possibly happen.
You know what? It's funny. The show began, I think the show ran for 4 years on TV, and the first season was black and white. It was really good sci-fi, and then it just became more of a kind of silly spoof.
3 seasons, 83 episodes, 3 seasons.
3 seasons, okay. So
29 of them were in black and white, 54 were in color.
Yeah. So then once the Dr. Smith character became so popular, him and Will Robinson really kind of became the central parts of the show, and the rest of the family kind of got moved to the background. So. You don't see that as much in this movie. They really give everybody equal.
Everybody has their time in this movie.
Everybody has their time. You want to start with the cast?
Well, let's first talk about the actual idea of the show and the movie, and then we'll take our quick break. So basically, Lost in Space was based off of Swiss Family Robinson.
It's funny that I never really put those two together.
Never put it together. The show always reminded me of Gilligan's Island, just in space.
And not comedic, originally. I mean, it was funny, had moments, but it wasn't slapstick like Gilligan's Island.
No, but whenever I think of this show, I always, for some reason, my brain goes to Gilligan's Island too, because the running joke is that same concept. They're both lost in the wilderness or in space or whatever it is, and they're making I'm gonna make this phone out of coconuts, like that every episode, and they did hour-long episodes of this show.
Yeah, that's right. Lost in Space was an hour show.
Hour-long show, and it was I think they did 29 episodes the first season. That's a lot.
I don't know. Back then, shows, season was at least 30, 20, high 20s to low 30s episodes.
And I also need to point out that the original show took place in October of 1997, the near future. And basically, it's the Robinson family. You got Professor John Robinson, Maureen, their 3 children, Judy, Penny, and Will. And they have Major Don West. And basically, they're supposed to be cryogenically frozen and sent out into space for exploration and colonization. They changed it a little bit in the movie, but basically, it's the same basic premise. And then Dr. Smith, who's actually a bad guy, sabotages the ship, and he gets
stranded, obviously, on the ship with them.
And you got the robot, voiced by Dick Tuffled.
Danger Will Robinson.
And he did it in the movie as well. That's
right.
Why I mentioned his name and nobody else's. And they end up crashing, and that's just basically, that's the show, and that's also the movie. We'll go through the movie plot a little bit more, but that It's it.
Yeah, we didn't. I think this was on our short list of movies to talk about when we did the whole TV show to movie month. Definitely was something we were interested in doing. It is very hard to adapt a television show into a movie because how do you decide? Do you recreate, a storyline from the actual show? Do you just take the characters from the show and, just create a whole new adventure for them? What do you do? So, as you said, Star Trek, the original movie, the first movie was just a disaster. But then they decided, you know what? We're going to take this one random episode where the villain of the episode, we don't really know what happens to him. Let's bring him back, and we're going to create this whole new story around him and the Enterprise crew. Fantastic. I mean, Wrath of Khan is obviously, in my opinion, the best Star Trek film of the original films. Then you have, the Brady Bunch,
where they do a totally original
idea. We got The Fugitive, which is
Flintstones.
We got The Fugitive, which is that was an easy one because that, you could take that and make that into just an hour and a half, 2-hour movie. So with Lost in Space, the common sense thing would be, okay, we're going to take the characters, we're going to do the whole, get stranded, but then what do we do? What major adventure do we bring them on for this 2-hour movie? So that was the question in hand, and I like the storyline in this movie. I actually do. I mean,
it's basically season 1.
Yeah, it deals with time travel. Now, I don't know, did the show deal with... I don't think the show ever dwelt on...
Excuse me.
I don't think the show ever dealt with that.
No, they never went that far.
I thought that was an interesting touch to this. So, now do you want to go on the cast?
Well, let's take a quick break, and then we'll definitely go into cast.
So, we will be right back after these messages.
Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Raise Energy Drinks. Raise is a proud member of Rep Sports, and if you guys are looking for a little extra kick during your day, whether you need to tackle a workout or you need to get over that afternoon slump, you can always check out Raise Energy, and if you get to checkout and you enter the code Cinematic, not only will you be getting a 15% discount, but you'll also be supporting the network. So that's Raise Energy with Rep Sports. Code is Cinematic, CINEMATIC.
And we're back, so we're going to dive into the cast of this movie. And really, when you look back on it, this cast is really good.
Oh, this cast was also peak 1990s.
I know, it's very, you could tell just the time of the when this movie came out with this cast. So you have, obviously, even though he doesn't get first billing, we're going to mention William Hurt first. Mm-hmm. He plays the father, John Robinson. We have Gary Oldman, who actually gets top billing in the movie. He plays Dr. Smith.
Slash Spider Smith.
That's my one gripe with this movie.
What are you talking about? That CGI really held up.
Yeah. We have Mimi Rogers as the mother,
Maureen
Robinson, and that's she's fresh off of Austin Powers. Matt LeBlanc,
and he was the biggest casting at the time.
Which I've read that Matthew Perry was their first choice.
Really,
but he turned it down. I don't remember that part. But then they went to Matt LeBlanc, who was trying to have a movie career at this time.
This was right before Charlie's Angels, too, which he's fun in.
Yeah, but he's not.
He's not.
That's more of a cameo to me than he really...
In the second one, he's got more.
I honestly don't even remember the second movie.
It was Full Throttle.
I don't remember that.
Anyway.
But Matt LeBlanc, right during the peak of Friends, this is season 4 of Friends, Courtney Cox is doing Scream, Jennifer Aniston's doing whatever she's doing.
Matt Perry's doing The Whole Nine Yards around this time?
I think that's a little later.
A little later?
A little later. But this is fresh off of Ed. Remember Ed?
Oh, vaguely, yeah.
the monkey that played baseball.
Oh, yeah.
So Matt LeBlanc, he plays...
you got this.
Commander West.
Major Don West.
Commander West, same thing. We have...
Lacey Chabert as Penny Robinson.
Lacey Chabert. Wild Thornberrys.
This was her annoying voice phase, when it was really
Wild Thornberries.
Really high the
Party
entire
of Five.
Time.
Heather Graham And this is right before Spy Who Shagged Me.
Yeah.
But after Boogie Nights, so, she was known for that. And then
Jack Johnson as Will Robinson.
I don't think
he's done too much.
Yeah, he's the only one that really didn't really go anywhere with his career.
Jared Harris as older Will Robinson. I never noticed as a kid.
Fun fact, they offered that to Bill Mumy, the original Will Robinson, and he turned him down. He didn't want to do it.
Which would have been great.
That would have been fantastic.
You did get some cameos, though, from some of the older ones. June Lockhart, she does a cameo.
She's the principal at the beginning of the movie.
Very funny.
Angela Cartwright's one of the reporters. Marta Kristen is the other reporter. And then...
Ed Fox.
He's not in the show.
I don't know, but I just saw his name on the list.
But Mark Goddard, he's the original Major West. He's the guy, the general who gives Matt LeBlanc the job.
And obviously, the voice of the robot, Dick Tuffield, he comes back for it too. I don't think he did the new show.
Oh no,
no, because he passed away. When did he pass away? I don't even know. But
and then sadly, we didn't. Guy Williams, he was passed away long before this movie was made, so obviously he couldn't cameo. But he also was not a big fan of the Lost in Space, what it became.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the cast, and again, very 90s. You just it
so
rings,
90s. It is
when you
90s.
hear this cast, you know the time when this movie was made. And now we'll go into the plot.
So let's start off with it's actually a very entertaining space fight. Like, I forget that this movie starts off with like a full-on Star Wars level space battle.
Yeah,
where we're introduced to Don West and his partner. I forget that Jeb.
Yes.
Jeb.
Good call. Good call.
Oh man, it's like I just watched this movie.
And it's 2058, so they've obviously aged the world 60 years from when the movie was made. So yeah, 2058, and Earth will soon be uninhabitable due to the irreversible effects of pollution and ozone depletion. Now that sounds familiar.
Because in the 90s, that was the big. That was also. It still is like the easy topic to tackle.
Yeah, obviously.
That's right up there with saying humans only use 10% of their brains. No, you use your whole thing. That's such a movie trope. I love it. But yeah, it starts off. I guess there's like the United Global Space Force, which is the good guys, the Rebel Alliance type characters, and then there's like the bad guys, which I forget what the name of like the Coalition or something silly. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look through this.
Global Sedition.
Global Sedition. All right, that's actually a pretty badass name. I'll give it that one.
Thank you.
And
yeah,
why? What you thought about it? Well, Sean in 1998 was apparently writing movies.
11 years old, man. Yeah,
probably could have written a better movie than this.
I don't know about that.
But so basically, the Robinsons are traveling. They're like part of this new program to send people to this place called Alpha Prime.
And they're going to try and see if it's obviously if
it's inhabitable. But the problem they're running into is you find out that Dr. Robinson created a hyperdrive, but you need 2 hyperdrive portals to get to it. Like, you got to go through one and then come out the other way. So basically, in the meantime, they're going to get cryogenically frozen. I think it's a 10-year travel to this new planet. So they all get together, and unfortunately, Don West gets in trouble for some of his antics during space stuff.
Yeah, because he saves his his partner, and by that breaks the rule.
It like ruins like a $10 billion. It was insured, sir. But he is actually very good in, like, I don't have a problem with Matt LeBlanc in this. He's very Joey, but in space.
I don't even consider him Joey. Like, he's playing it straight. He has a few moments where he's funny, but he's not stupid.
You know what? He's Joey when he's hitting on Heather Graham. Well, yeah, how you doing? See, that would have worked, Joey. That would have worked. But anyway, so he gets assigned to travel with them.
Yes, because the original pilot is killed.
But everybody says he's got the flu.
He's got the flu, but he was killed because it was, as you find out, the Global Sedition is doing everything it can to prevent the Robinsons from
because I think succeeding. Don't they have like their own hypergate that they're working on or something?
Sounds about right.
Like that.
Yeah.
So Don West gets assigned to travel to this planet with them, cryogenically frozen, and we find out that the team's doctor, who did all their like preliminary reports, he could have just made up things like, oh no, they can't go.
Yeah, you would think that, but I think he probably was like, the Robinsons are too smart for something like that.
But also, I think the real reason is because if something happens to them on this 10-year journey, no one will know for another 9.5 years.
No one will know for 9.5 years, and then probably not anyone would do anything again to go. Because when you think about what this family is doing, especially the kids, they're giving up their lives.
Oh yeah.
And they have a good scene. There's a great scene between Mimi Rogers and William Hurt where he comes home late, and she's there doing all the packing, and she's like, "How do you tell your kids that everything they know they're not going to know anymore, and they're going to go sleep for 10 years and wake up and be in a whole new world?" Like, he doesn't understand that, and she's like trying to get through to him, like, you need to figure out how to talk to your kids.
Yeah, because like Penny's out breaking curfew.
Yep.
Will's literally doing a science experiment about time travel.
Boy genius.
And his dad's like, very cool, son.
Yeah.
Let me go be the stereotypical movie dad. But so they do end up going onto the ship, and it's a lot of fun scenes. Like Don's like talking to himself. He's like, 88 combat missions, 42.
I gotta take the family on a picnic.
Yeah,
or something like that.
And then the freezing tubes. Man, and this is where the CGI starts.
The cryogenic freezing. Where it's just blurry and like you can just tell it's just the screen.
All right, so let's establish the CGI in this movie was not good to begin with, and it's only aged worse.
Yeah. Especially
they introduce a full CG character by the name of Blarp. And it's like a little space chameleon monkey.
And this is before Jar Jar Binks.
Oh God, it is jarring.
Yes, this was because in the show, that character was basically a monkey with a wig on.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it was, or a monkey with like a horn. I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I remember because after the movie came out, the Sci-Fi Channel did a whole marathon of the original show.
Nice.
And I remember turning it on and I'm seeing like the character that character is, and it's like that's just a monkey.
That's just a monkey.
It's just a monkey with like I can't remember if it was like a cone, like make it look like a unicorn. I don't know, but that's what basically they took that character and they're like, well, we're just going to CGI this character.
And this was right around like we just had Casper, where like they did a beautiful CGI job, but it still holds up.
Yeah.
Casper still holds up.
Casper still holds up, but you also have to remember who was overseeing Casper.
That's fair. But I think something to be said about a character, like a CG character that's completely translucent versus a solid mass one. I think that also
probably.
But yeah, they could have just gotten a monkey in there. Nowadays, they would actually just make the entire character CG and have somebody in a motion suit.
Oh, that's absolutely.
But yeah.
So the ship takes off, no problem. But you see, Dr. Smith, he has his last transmission with the head of the Global Sedition, who
before the ship takes
off, they have this weird meeting in the desert.
Holographic desert.
It's a holographic. You find out at the end of the scene, it's a holographic desert, and obviously, the guy is like, well, I'm not going to give you your money. You haven't succeeded at your job
because he's not part of this like global team. He's just in it for the cash.
He's just in it for the money. He's just like, I don't care about what's going on here. I just want to get paid.
Yeah.
So the guy's just like, well, you got to finish this. Do it. Do this. Do that. So he sabotages the robot and puts the robot back where it is. And
I actually liked the robot redesign. I
had
a toy of it as a kid. It was cool.
I liked it. And he has this one last transmission while he's in the ship, and he says, the job's done. And basically they, screw him and
they knock him unconscious.
And so obviously now he's stuck on
because
the ship.
He's technically
unbeknownst to himself.
He's a loose end.
So he's stuck on the ship. We know that. He obviously doesn't know that the ship's going to take off with him on it. And obviously the family doesn't know that he's on the ship. So
he regains consciousness.
And he's obviously like, I'm screwed.
He regains consciousness right before the robot attacks.
Which is a great scene, by the way. I love that.
It is a great scene. And again, because that robot is practical,
yes,
it is much better.
Much better. So the robot is shooting off its, lasers and stuff everywhere in the ship, and he's freaking out. He's like, what do I do? He's got to wake up. He's got to wake up the family. So
he manages to wake them all up except Judy.
And we have a decent scene with them obviously trying to evade the robot, and Matt LeBlanc is jumping on the back of the robot.
And he's like stabbing into it,
pulling the wires and stuff. So fun scene, and all you find out is that Will just runs and get his remote control, and he takes control of the robot.
Yeah, he's able to hack the robot.
And I love his line: "Family won't come to the science fair. Bring the science fair to the family."
Yeah, but we find out that Judy's stuck in her tube.
And so she is experiencing
Wes is about to kill Smith. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And then he sees the marks on his hand.
Yeah, you're part of the sedition, and I should kill you right now. And, of course, Smith is like, I'm the only one that could save her.
Yeah, so she's trapped in her cryo tube because of the malfunctions. Now, at the same time, because of the robot's attack, the ship is knocked off course.
Mm-hmm.
And very much
heading towards the sun.
And this is very much like the show where basically the hyperdrive activates, and I think by accident in the show.
But here they purposely obviously do it because it's the only way they can escape.
Yeah. It's one of the few times that the CGI still kind of holds up.
Yeah, I like the CGI effect in this one where they're kind of frozen.
Yeah.
Because you obviously never saw that in Star Wars. It was different.
Yeah.
It was a different take on the hyperdrive.
But basically the hyperdrive activating it will send them
through
almost
the sun.
Anywhere in the galaxy. They have no idea.
They have no idea.
But they're going to die.
They just know that, they'll be dead if they don't do it.
So they end up popping out nearby a planet, and they're trying to like gather their wits about them.
They find 2 ships that are like next to each other.
Well, first there's nothing. There's just a planet and like some asteroids.
Oh, wait,
but then
that's
there's
right.
there's this weird time rift
portal
that like explodes around them, and then suddenly there's a ship with another ship attached to it called the Proteus.
Yep.
So they're like, hey, that looks like one of our ships. Like, so they go to this ship. I think Will sends the robot who he's remote controlling, and I do like the holographic interface. That's a fun idea, but I did find it a little bit jarring when like he would talk into it, and then it would cut to the robot saying it, and he'd be like, "Dad, do you hear?" I'm like, "Oh God, please stop! I don't like it. I want to get off the ride." But anyway, so they're exploring the ship, and they're noticing a couple of things. First and foremost, the technology on it is moving very quickly. Like their system adapts to it, but like he's like, "Why is everything moving so fast?" And there's a series of robots on the ship that are all very new or newish models. Mm-hmm. But there's not a single human being on this ship.
But that's where they find Blarp.
That's where they find Blarp. And they find also an overgrown like greenhouse on the ship. Blarp is the only living thing that they've found so far.
And then they finally come across a message.
Yes,
from
Jeb.
From Jeb. And Matt LeBlanc is like, Wes is like, that's Jeb. Like,
he looks old.
When did he become a
captain or whatever it is?
General or something? And you kind of get little hints from the recording because it's kind of distorted. Don would never give up on me. I'm never going to give up on him. So they're kind of getting this little clues like,
why would they send a rescue mission for us?
How do they even know we're missing?
Yeah, when we've only been gone a day.
That begins the like, what's going on here? Did they time travel? Are they in the future? We don't know. And then we get
now. This also leads to the biggest plot hole of the entire movie. Mm-hmm. So technically, they're in the future for the rest of this movie. So when they do their time jump their jump at the end, I know we're getting ahead. Are they still in the future? I mean, the time machine gets destroyed. Oh, yeah. Sean's got to sit down for this one.
When the jump at the end.
So basically, when they go through this time bubble, they're going into the future.
Yes.
So right now, outside of this time bubble is, 2058. Mm-hmm. Inside is, I don't think they say
40 years.
40 years later.
Let's just push it 40 years.
So they stay in this time bubble for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But they do go into a further time bubble, but then, they get sent back.
Oh, no, I've gone cross-eyed.
But basically, they're in 40 years later. Let's say present, future. They're in the future. So when they jump at the end, even though everything's been destroyed, we never see that they leave the time bubble. So are they still 40 years in the future?
I have no idea.
And we'll never find out.
Know. We'll never know.
But anyway, so now there's also these strange egg sacs all over the ship that they do notice, and they're scanning, and like Maureen and Penny are still on the ship, and they're like, what are those things?
Yeah.
Then some of the worst CGI, and that's including Blarp. Because luckily Blarp's only in like 3 scenes. He's not in it very much.
Yeah, no, they don't really go crazy with the Blarp character.
Thank God.
But we get our CG spiders.
Oh God. Jarring.
And then we get I always loved the scene where Don West has the helmet come over his head. I like that.
I think it was cool. That was in all the trailers.
Oh, that was always the big sheen in the trailer.
So basically
they were pushing Matt LeBlanc so hard in this
of course
movie.
They were. So all these spiders start attacking. They're trying to run back to the ship, but they do find coordinates for Alpha Prime.
Yes.
So they're able to grab those and take them with them. Unfortunately, the robot gets destroyed.
Robot gets destroyed, and in the process, Smith gets
scratched
by one of the spiders, not knowing what.
Which again, they don't ever address because technically they put him back on the ship.
True.
Yeah. Time travel. But anyway, so the robot gets destroyed, but Will's able to back it up, which is weird considering it didn't have a personality to begin with. Because he basically erases the robot and takes control of it. Terrible. But so they save the robot's, personality or programming, and they manage to get back onto the ship. But Don decides to destroy the Proteus
to eradicate the spiders
because they're the threats.
Mm-hmm.
And it leads to a very interesting conversation between the two of them, because technically it's a civilian and military operation, and I actually really like the scene where they're talking to each other, and he's like, I was still in command. It was a military situation. You're in charge of the science stuff, but when it comes time for combat, like, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
And they have a really good back and forth, and I do like, there's one line, he goes, hey, I like you. I really do. but I will do whatever I can. Like it shows everything about the two characters at the same time. And then of course Maureen comes in typical mom / powerful wife situation. She's like, I'll have Judy declare you both unfit and I'll take over. I was like, oh, boss move. And the two of them just stop. And I think it's Don goes, wow. And William Hurt goes, tell me about it. And it's a great scene. It really is. Like the
movie is helped by the cast. It really is, because
1,000%.
The cast obviously takes a bad script and they'll make it work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you have William Hurt and Gary Oldman and Mimi Rogers in the movie, you're going to get quality.
Right.
You know, it may not be perfect, but you're going to get quality.
So they land on this planet, or they crash land on this planet. And they're spending the next couple of days doing repairs.
And it says another distortion appears in the time bubble.
So
they could be back. When they crash land, they could be back in the present.
So apparently there was time travel in one of the episodes called Flight into the Future. So, and there's things like a future statue of the robot and descendants of Dr. Smith and Judy. Ew. Oh, I hope that's not them together. I hope it's just in general. But yeah, so there was an episode that dealt with it. So Will's going, hey, these are what I hypothesized would happen from my time machine. Like, this is what I said would happen. And they're like, yeah, little one. You just sit there and look handsome. And he's like, you never listen to me. And storms out. So they realize that the piece of the ship that they're missing is in there.
Yeah. So West and John
decide to
venture into the time bubble, and there they come across an older Will.
Correct. And a new robot who captures them.
Yes. And we get the little, obviously, detail. Will explains that surviving spiders killed Maureen, Penny, and Judy. And he constructed a new time machine to return to Earth to prevent the Jupiter 2 from launching.
Basically, he used the Jupiter 2 and the core material that they need to create a brand new time machine. And he is being nurtured by none other than Dr. Smith. Now, so Will believes that happened. Like, he believed that the spiders came, attacked, killed everybody, and he was the only survivor. It turns out that Dr. Smith has been mutated by the spider sting, and he is like half spider, half human.
I think he's more spider.
Way more spider than human. And it's the CGI is jarring.
It's pretty crappy.
Yeah. Oh God, it's rough. But so basically, young Will is able to convince the robot to help them.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically enough, Smith uses the same control device from one of the other robots on the Proteus to take control of it. But future Smith, Spider Smith, he's also Smith. And I like how he knocks out, he tries to kill his past self, not knowing what might happen.
True.
Yeah.
Because he would have just probably vanished.
Could have. Because they never explained the time travel rules in this.
We need Christopher Lloyd. Whenever you need a time travel, just describe Christopher Lloyd.
So basically, they managed to convince the robot to help them because Will talks about being friends and thinking with your heart. Shut up, Will. And the robot helps them not only escape but also take out Smith.
Yes.
It's a fun scene. It really is, because older Will realizes that Smith lied to him.
Yeah. And
basically this Spider Smith is like, hey, can't you make this portal bigger? I don't want you to hurt yourself on the outer fire stuff. And he's like, well, that's not too small for me. I'm not going, am I? So basically this Spider Smith wanted to go back to Earth and repopulate
it with a race of spiders.
Oh, because he's pregnant.
That's what it is.
I forgot to tell everybody that Gary Oldman Spider Smith is pregnant.
Yeah.
So I think
John.
I got this. Hold on. Don and Will escape.
Yes.
They leave with the robot, and they also find Smith, and they take him with them.
Yes.
Leaving John to stay behind and deal with Spider Smith and save older Will.
And then John, remembering that the spiders eat their wounded, he rips open Smith's egg sac
using the science medal that Will had.
Yep, and the Smith spider army devours him, and he is thrown into the time portal, ripping him apart.
Oh.
Again, just ridiculous CGI. It's just hard.
Oh, it's so funny watching him fall.
Oh, it's bad.
Oh, at the same time that this is all happening, the time machine is causing the planet to be torn apart.
Yes.
So this planet is going to be destroyed.
So Don gets back to the ship, and they take off.
Or they try to.
Well, no, they do. They take off,
but they're not able to escape the atmosphere.
No, and John witnesses it. Obviously, the ship is crashed and they're all killed. Great scene, by the way.
It is a great scene. It's
Great
like
scene.
jarring. You're like, oh
Yeah,
my
'cause
God.
you're like, where is this going? And then that's when old Will is like, all
this
right,
is my chance to save my family. The
this is
chance
my
that I
chance
never
to save
had.
my family. So he
Odd amount of character growth for such a
basically
terrible movie.
pushes his father into the time portal, right after they take off. And by doing that, he saves the family, and they avoid the part of the planet that crashes into them.
Because basically, they try and take off with the ship without that core material, and they can't get. I think Don says it. He's like, we can't leave.
Yeah,
we got to try though. So they push him through the portal, and I hate it. They're like, "You come with us." I can't. There's only room for one trip. I was like, "Then stop talking." Like you guys could have made it. Like you guys, let's go. Hold hands.
Well, what's the worst that could happen? He would have gone through, and he would have. But he's probably thinking that he would destroy them. If he tried.
Again, a simple explanation would have sufficed.
Well,
But anyway,
so you get that little moment where he sees himself as a kid again, and
it's a fun moment.
And he's saying hi to his mom and his sister because he hasn't seen them in 30-something years.
It was one of the most jarring scenes is when he's talking to them and he's like, I can still hear their screams.
Oh yeah, that's Jared Harris, man. He's
fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad he's finally getting a little bit more in Hollywood.
He's a really good actor. I didn't know that was him for the longest time.
I know. I realized it too today when I was thinking about this movie.
And I never knew he was Richard Harris's didn't know that.
Richard Harris.
Yeah, the Dumbledore we only got to see 2 times. Would have liked to have seen how he would have done Dumbledore later on.
I would have liked to see him in Goblet of Fire in the scene where in the book he calmly asks Harry if he put his name in the Goblet of Fire, but in the movie he's like, Harry, put your name in the Goblet of Fire, like Batman. Still funny. But so they managed to escape by, instead of trying to escape the planet, going down through the core and using the trajectory to pop them out. And they all managed to survive, and they want to put in the code for Alpha Centauri. And I love it. Like Matt LeBlanc's like, plotting Alpha Prime. Plotting a coast. I can't talk anymore.
The planet turns into a black hole, so obviously they have to. It's very Star Trek.
Have to use the hyperdrive.
They have to use the hyperdrive to escape. So they set it to a potential course for Alpha Prime, but you have no idea where it's going to throw them out, and that's when the movie ends.
Cool.
So, again, I thought it worked for what it was. Again, I think Lost in Space it's a tough. We're seeing now with obviously with the advent of streaming, and a lot of these stories are coming out as miniseries. You've got Mandalorian, Boba Fett,
Moon Knight's next week.
Moon Knight, all the Marvel Falcon. Instead of making a movie about Falcon and Winter Soldier, we got a 7-part TV show,
which works.
But that's what I'm saying. You can do more. You're not confined to 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Netflix started it with binging. With they'd release 11, 12 episodes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really jarring though, like because of that we have to wait years for some of these shows.
Yeah.
You finish it in a weekend.
No, that's true. But so you can get into it more than I can because I haven't watched it yet. So what's the new show on Netflix?
We'll talk about that in a second. But first, Star City ratings for Lost in Space.
3.
I'm right there with you. I was going to say 3. Not in terms of quality, but in terms of just watchability and cheesiness. If you like your B-level movies and you're like, it's very 1950s sci-fi B movie.
It is what it is. It's a typical 90s.
It took itself a little too seriously.
Took itself too seriously, but it also didn't want to be too campy.
Right.
It didn't want to be what the last 2 seasons of the show was. It was trying to aim more for what the first season was straight sci-fi with a little humor every now and then, but didn't want to go too far on the camp. I thought it succeeded in that. Again, it's just very hard to come up with a storyline that would just make everyone happy.
Right.
So they tried. They went a little overboard. Again, 90s CGI. It wasn't perfect. This isn't T2. This isn't Jurassic Park. It's tough. When you have a movie centered on, you're going to have CGI characters or CGI moments. It's hard to pick which one you want to look the best. And, it looks like they kind of spread the money around. So nothing was like perfect. Everything was kind of just average.
The sets were really good.
Sets were good.
As
you said, the robot was practical, so that
both versions,
so that
even when his helmet drops down, like it shifts, and we'll talk about that for the show. But
again, the cast. I think the cast was the main reason why I think I like this movie so much.
Absolutely, they're all likable. They all you understand all of them, and like none of them make any decisions that are completely out of left field. Yeah. Like if Smith had tried to save them all at the end, that would have been weird. Like I also like when they just are like, he's just a terrible person. We don't have to make him likable. We don't have to, like, Gary Oldman sells it because he's just charming.
Yeah.
But
that's what the show did. The show made him a likable character.
There's only one moment where has any redeeming factor, and that's when
he saves Judy.
Not even when he saves, because that's self-preservation.
That's true.
It's when they're walking through, after they go through time, and he finds all the gravestones to the family, and he pulls Will away. He's like, nope.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines, though, is when Will drops, he says shit.
Oh, shit.
A boy of your intelligence should never swear. And then he's like, oh, shit. It's a very funny line.
That was good. Because, again, they were kind of going at that, the relationship between the two characters that you saw on the show. But then it got just so dark when, obviously you see the gravestones.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you get into the ship and you see the Spider-Smith and you just realize the guy is just pure evil. Now, was he pure evil to begin with, or did the mutation make it worse? Worse? Who knows? We'll never know. Again, the movie was supposed to have it, they were aiming to do, I think multiple films of this, which I find hard to believe. I don't know if they were going to be able to do that.
All right, so
was a success.
Let's talk about the show then.
Then let's talk about the show.
So I started the Netflix show when it first came out, and it is very different.
Yeah.
Same basic premise, like basically instead though, like it's got like hundreds of people in the show, and they're on a colony ship, but they're all have their own assigned ship. Don West isn't a general or a captain, and he's a mechanic. Judy's adopted, is John's stepdaughter, which it's a really great dynamic. Basically, the robots in this show are a sentient alien species. And they're like almost spider-like. It's fantastic. I have to finish the third season, but the first two seasons were really good. The effects they did a practical robot suit, except for the CGI moments, obviously. But like there's an actual robot walking around. It's really cool. The cast is stellar, and they make a lot of creative changes. Like what's her name? Who plays Dr. Smith? Oh, this is gonna drive me crazy now. But basically, they do a gender swap with Dr. Smith. And it's really good, and I want to finish it.
Parker Posey.
Thank you. Oh, God, it was driving me crazy. But she takes over as, like, Dr. Smith. She steals his identity, basically, in this one instead.
Interesting.
And it's really good. And what's the mom's name? Maureen. They're, like, going through a divorce at the beginning of the show. So it, like, even adds more layers.
Dynamic to
it. God, it's a really good show. I highly recommend it if anybody hasn't seen it yet.
That's something I definitely got to... I've been saying since it came out. I was like,
I
got to watch this.
Like the show is done. They had their last season. Season 3 or 4, I think. I forget.
Season 3.
But 2018, yeah, it was.
Yeah, season 3 just released back in December of 2021.
It's only 28 episodes too. So yeah, highly recommend it because you got Molly Parker, Toby Stevens, who I really do enjoy.
What's his name? From Die Another Day.
Yeah, he just played the bad guy. Parker Posey. Yeah, it is solid. And again, they do it as a service by having an entire colony of people all crash land on this planet. And it adds a lot of layers and a lot of dynamics. But I think that's pretty much it.
That does sum it up. So that it was good. A good little choice of a movie. We like that you and I both agree that, I think it's a little more of a bad rap than it really deserves.
1,000%.
Again, we're not claiming this movie is, God's gift to science fiction. No, it's just a good, fun time. I mean, I remember seeing this in theaters and probably didn't care for it as much as a kid. I think as I got older, I appreciated it a little more, which is funny when you think about it because it's definitely, I think it was more geared to younger kids. But definitely had fun doing this. So
I love it. I mean, this is a movie, like I said, it's a guilty pleasure movie. It's not the best. It's not the worst. It came out at a time where CG was just not where it should be. I think
up there with Godzilla.
Yeah, I really think that the TV show now is the better version, but this movie's still solid. If it's on, I'll watch it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Every time I see it on cable, I think it's on one of the streamers. I just can't remember which one.
It's so hard to keep track nowadays.
I know. But hope everyone else had a good listening to this. So as always, I am Sean.
And I'm Paul.
And we hope you have a good one.
And don't forget to check out more content on themisfitfaction.com.
Oh, sorry there.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Themisfitfaction.com, or you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. I need to lay Spotify. And you can also find us on Instagram, The Misfit Faction, YouTube, The Misfit Faction Media Network, or Twitter at Misfit Faction. Now you can.
Oh, now I can say.
Yeah, I got you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Hey! Where are you two going? Get back there. Get back on those microphones.
Rob, you're not even on the show.
How did you get here?
You guys forgot Fan Feedback Friday.
Oh, I gotta start locking the door too to the studio. Oh my God. Yes. Oh, well, that is true. That is true. So, Fan Feedback Friday was, what is your favorite movie twist or surprise? And that's when Sean says, "What the twist?" One of the best Robot Chicken jokes ever. But so from Rob's film class, which
Are you all paying attention? James, Julian, Grace, you all listening?
Yeah, yeah, all of you. So we have Knives Out with the fake knife. Us when they realize it's not the actual that was a great twist in Us. I will give it that one. Where at the very end of the movie, you're like, because that warrants a rewatch, and I think that the greatest twist always warrant the rewatch of the movie.
Oh yes.
Let's see, Scream the original with 2 killers. Star Wars, Darth Vader is Luke's father. Darth Vader is Luke's father?
Oh man, you spoiled it.
And Luke and Leia being related. All right, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
They were siblings.
Definitely replayed the Empire a little differently.
They kissed twice. Cars when Lightning McQueen doesn't finish the race.
I have tried so hard in my class to suppress Cars from being mentioned, and they just absolutely refuse.
Well, they're like the Cars generation, aren't they?
I guess they were raised on it.
And
I even on Friday, I even told them, I said, we're not allowed to talk about cars anymore in this class, and they all got mad at me. So I said, fine.
God, it's all right. Joker, when we realize that he doesn't have a relationship with his neighbor, that is like another part of that movie that you got to rewatch it afterwards. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Every single M. Night Shyamalan ding dong stuff. That's fair. Captain America picking up Thor's hammer, still a great scene. The Handmaiden, when they end up actually being together at the end and it's all a ploy. All right.
Yeah.
Casablanca, that Lisa and Rick don't end up.
Ilsa.
Oh, excuse me. Ilsa and Rick don't end up together. He's looking at you, kid. 13, when she lied and outed her friend about all the crimes.
It's been a long time since I've seen the film 13.
Yeah,
so
it's been a long time. Batman vs. Superman, when Superman dies.
That hits you in the feels, doesn't it?
Oh, you know what, though? It was ruined by putting Doomsday in the trailer.
But that came up on my Facebook memories was when we went to see Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, I was
still going to comment going, the movie still sucks.
Some memory I want to suppress.
It was only 6 years ago. It's crazy to think.
I know. Yeah. It feels like it was an eternity ago. But...
Yeah. The one in Identity is really up there. That is a good one.
Yeah. I forgot about that movie.
What was the movie with A Beautiful Mind is another one that I like, where you find out that all of those people are like split personalities.
Yeah.
That's another good
Paul
one.
Bettany is all in his brain.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that he's been hanging up is not real.
Right. Scream, of course, as well. Sixth Sense blew everyone. I will say that Sixth Sense is still the best, one of the best movie twists of all time.
Are You Afraid of the Dark did it first?
They did do it first. And My Name is Kaiser Soze. And
still great.
Shutter Island, when you realize
Shutter Island's good.
Yeah.
Psycho, when you find out that Norman is his mother.
He is his mother.
Yep. It's funny because movie twists, the thing about movie twists is like by this point there's been so many and like you tend to forget about them. But thanks, Rob, for
and I got one more that I didn't get to put up, and I won't say what the twist is just because it's too fresh. The Power that has a huge twist at the end. Sean and I were actually Sean was asking me about Power of the Dog and is it worth watching and everything, and I said it was a movie where at the end when you see the ending you're like, okay, I have to go back and rewatch scenes.
Was it that Benedict Cumberbatch was actually Doctor Strange the whole time and this is just a variant?
Wait, you saw it too?
I knew it.
But yeah, there's a huge twist in that one.
Well, thank you, Rob, for reminding us about Fan Feedback Friday.
Just making sure you guys are still on point.
Now get out of my house.
All right, goodbye.
All right. And that's going to end our episode again. I'm Paul.
I'm Sean.
I left.
We'll see you guys next time.